Welcome, everyone. Can you please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Abernathy,
Present.
Councilmember Bush,
Here.
Councilmember Buxton,
Present.
Councilmember Dawson,
Here.
Councilmember Geller,
Present.
Councilmember Levesque, Councilmember Nguyen,
Here.
Councilmember Rogers, absent, Councilmember Sykes,
Here.
Councilmember Tedford,
Here.
Councilmember Wendis,
Here.
Councilmember Winkler. Here. Your Honor, you have a quorum.
Thank you. Citizens Forum. Is there anybody? We're going to start Citizens Forum, but at 7:35 we have to stop because we have a public hearing. Go ahead.
How y'all doing tonight?
Good.
My name is Gennaro Gonzalez. I'm the third. I'm a Vernon resident. I live at the 51 Hartford Turnpike at the Travel Lodge Motel where I tried to. As long as y'all keep throwing y'all cans and I could collect it through the blue recycle bins, I could support my kids. Anyway, back to the subject. So, today I'm here because people wanted me to come out, but I'm a more talk because I feel a little freely. I feel a little free today. I feel like I should tell the truth and speak my mind. Money that's given to you should be used for the purposes that it's supposed to be used for. To me, when I was here in the last meeting and I heard that y'all wanted to use the school funding for situations y'all had, you should leave the school funding for school funding. You understand what I'm saying? That's not your money, 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 none of you money. Because you get that money from my birth certificate. Let's get that right. And if I have to prove my fact, I got law that proves mine. That my birth certificate and my children's birth certificate, when they're registered to your town, y'all get money. So I decline whatever y'all trying to do with that sufficient funds y'all got. Y'all should put it for the purpose to work what it's supposed to be for, not for no meal, not for this, because at the end of the day, y'all not going to give me that apartment across the street because you don't give a shit about me. You're going to make it more expensive and more worse for the landlords, for us to make it. It's going to make it more expensive for me to pay rent. You're going to tell a property owner he can't park his personal stuff in his own property? I wish one of my family members died and I own property because I'm going to get buried right there. And you can't do nothing about it. And if you want your property and you really want to own it, go under a allodial title. Allodial title is the proper title for jurisdiction over your own property. You could pass your own constitution on your own law, just like the Queen of England did with Florida,
Point of
which
order.
is Walt Disney. I'm pretty upset, man, about the transfer station thing. You know, I feel like people are like just denying me. You playing basketball. I don't play basketball. I play chess. Y'all need money. You're going to come after the citizens, make it more worse for us. Not for me, for the business owners. You know, Mayor, man, I don't know what to say no more. I just thank the Vernon residents that they take care of me, man. I really do, dude. I'm ashamed, dude, to even talk about y'all like that, bro. To me, y'all garbage, bro. Y'all are dumpster juice. Y'all are the ones in fucking Hartford with the pole stick in the ground. They have to release the air because if it don't, it explodes. Y'all are nasty to me if y'all pass this joint, man, to people that can't even really afford it. You don't have that right whatsoever. And as mayor, and if it was me taking care of citizens, me loving my grandmother, I would wash every citizen, old citizen, I would wash their feet. I would scrape their bunions, cut their toenails, and color them real beautiful. People don't want to hear it because people worried about their house getting a $20 raise on $1 for their house. $20. You think y'all thought I was retarded, huh? I belong at the institution. It's not your money. Put it for one. It's supposed to be attended for. Do not come after the citizens and separate their businesses from their houses. You don't belong it. You don't own it. You know, respect it. I'm upset, dude.
I understand. Thank you. All right, so we're going to hold off for citizens forum until after the public hearing. We have to go into the public hearing at 7:35, and then we'll go back into citizens forum. Okay, guys? All right. So I'm going to call the public hearing to order. Can the town clerk please read the legal notice?
This was posted on the outside bulletin board of Town Hall and on the town website on May 6, 2026. It was advertised in the Journal Inquirer on April 27, 2026. Legal Notice 2026 Neighborhood Assistance Act, Town of Vernon. Legal Notice 2026 Neighborhood Assistance Act, the Town of Vernon announces that applications for the 2026 NAA program are due by 1:00 p.m. May 22nd, 2026. Submissions can either be mailed to Matt Hellman, Director of Social Services, Town of Vernon, 14 Park Place, Vernon, Connecticut 06066, or emailed to mhellman@vernon-ct.gov. A public hearing to hear comment and take the necessary action relative to the Neighborhood Assistance Act Tax Credit Program submissions is scheduled for June 2nd, 2026 at 7:35 p.m. in the Town Council Chambers, 14 Park Place, Vernon, Connecticut. Those wishing to participate should attend in person. For additional information, call Matt Hellman, 860-870-3567. Matthew C. Hellman, Social Services Director, dated this 22nd day of April, 2026.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask for comments, but this comment isn't the public's citizens forum. This is specifically about the Neighborhood Assistance Act submissions for 2026. Does anybody have any comments on the Neighborhood Assistance Act? All right, seeing none, I'm going to adjourn the public hearing and return to the regular meeting. All right, citizens forum, more citizens forum. Come on up. Name and address.
Can you hear me? My name is Donald Dantea.
Is that on? It is. Okay.
It is okay. My name is Donald Dantea. I reside at 16 Farmbrook Lane. That's off the Dart Hill Road. I'm a member of the board of directors of Quail Hollow 2. I'm here representing Quail Hollow 2, and Quail Hollow 3. We're a 55 plus community. Those are three Quail Hollows, consisting of 168 homeowners. Today I'm here to let the town council be aware of a concern we all have. That's regarding the reimbursement from the town for electric bills that we pay monthly. Water bills electric bills are for street lights. Water bills for hydrants, we pay quarterly. We submit these to the town in a very timely basis, typically 15 days at the end of a quarter. As of today, we are still waiting for quarter 4 of 2025 and quarter 1, which was submitted at the beginning of April. We think that there's a problem somewhere on getting these things processed. For Quail Hollow 2, that amounts to about $2,300. And we're like any other homeowner. We have bills to pay. We have a budget to try to stay within for our homeowners. Also, what I'm asking for is an explanation, not necessarily right now, but hopefully very soon, as to how these are processed. There's got to be a better way to expedite it. I talked to the town manager when he first came on board. They were fine. They were happening right away. Now, quarter 4 of 2025, that doesn't make sense. I mean, we pay our taxes timely. Your coffers are filled twice a year. You would think that they would be able to be processed. So that's really all what I have to say. And, I appreciate your time, and hopefully I hear something soon.
We'll look into that and get back to you.
Thank you.
Can you just leave a name and phone number with the clerk on your way over?
Sure, not a problem.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. All right. Anybody else for Citizens Forum? Anybody else? Come on up. Just your name and address.
Michael Tobin.
Mike, can you hold up the mic?
My name is Michael Tobin. I reside at 21 Court Street, apartment 3C, Rockville, Connecticut, 5 years. I'll delineate my comments briefly. Mr. Wendis and I met one night about 5 months ago in the cold. I walked down to his truck. I expressed to him, we're having a problem with prostitution here in this plaza and at Dollar General. He expressed to me that the police knew about this, drugs, so on and so forth. Went to Lake Street School, BCMS, Rockville High School in 1976 in Eastern Connecticut State University, college back then. Nothing seems to be going on about this. The police are very aware of it. Fire department's aware of it. Public Works is aware of it. They're very aware of it. So I asked Mr. Wendis, and he said they would do something about it. It's one person, car to car, incessantly, day, night, and all afternoon. Lived on the streets for 10 years because of my addiction and alcoholism, so I've been around. I know. I'm a very perceptive person, very observant person. Been that way my whole life. And when you live that way and you destroy your life, you better know your surroundings. So I'm very aware. I got a window seat to all of this, and I'd like something done about it. I've written the police department. I've walked to these people and said, what's up? So maybe someone would draft a letter to the department heads about their employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for Citizens Forum? All right. Seeing none, I'm going to close Citizens Forum. All right. I have a couple things for presentment tonight. One thing that was not on the list is, but there's a memo in front of you here. It's an open house for June 24th, 5 to 6:30 p.m. at Fox Hill. So make sure you add that to your list. All right, so we have 2 Meet the Street Arts Festivals left this summer. One is June 18th, 2026, and the other is July 16th, 2026, 6 to 9 p.m. at 1 Court Street. The first one is very successful. The VRAB graduation is June 4th, 2026 at Rockville High School Auditorium, 6 p.m. Gene Luddy, Town of Vernon historian, to present 2 historical lectures in honor of America 250. The first is June 4th, and the second is June 11th, beginning at 6:30 p.m. Town Council Chambers. Graduation is Rockville High School graduation is June 11th, 2026, 6 p.m. The Rockville High School courtyard. Make sure you RSVP to the high school office. In case of rain, the event moves indoors to the auditorium. A farewell event for Dr. Joseph McCary and Bob Testa is June 17th, 2026 at Manili's Banquet Facility beginning at 5 p.m. Tickets can be purchased through Diane, is it Ricochet? At the superintendent's office. Vernon Coffee Roasters expansion, Route 30, June 18th at 11:30 a.m. All are welcome. The Mayor's Summer Concert Series. The first one is July 30th. It's going to be the Army Band. The second is August 6th, Cover to Cover. The third is August 13th, Night Shift. And the final is August 20th, Shaded Soul. All those are going to be up at Henry Park. So Eye in the Sky is July 8th, 2026, with a rain date of July 9th, 2026. Activities stretch from Henry Park to Central Park. Friday The bond commission authorized a state grant to complete Daniel's mill cleanup in the amount of $2.5 million. Thank you to Governor Lamont and our state representatives, Brown, Foster, Nuccio, and Senator Gordon, and Congressman Courtney, as well as Commissioner Boughton, for their support of this request. In addition, I'd like to thank Deputy Mayor Levesque and the entire town council for their support. The town of Vernon is filing a petition against the proposed rate increase put forward by Eversource. Any town council members interested in signing, please see. It's not Dave Owens. I actually have the list. So if you can sign up, I'd like the council people to be the first on the list. And then tomorrow we're going to go online. It gives people an opportunity to go online, sign their name saying they're not in support of this rate increase. I think we pay enough for electricity, being one of the highest in the nation. All right.
There's a scheduling conflict here. So.
Okay, so we are not doing the fire prevention poster tonight. There was a scheduling conflict. All right. Okay, let's keep moving on. Consent.
Motion to move consent agenda as written.
Who seconded that? Jim. Okay. All right, seconded by Jim. Are we pulling any of them?
Yes. I would like to pull number 3.
Okay.
Wait. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh. I apologize, man. Hold on. Yes, number 1.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're going to be pulling number 1. All right. So, any others? All right. All in favor of consent agenda 2 and 3? Unanimous. All right.
Proposed motion. The town council hereby approves 6 prior year taxes totaling $460.14 and current year taxes 6 totaling $329.16 as outlined in the memorandum from Amanda Tashi, Collector of Revenue, to John W. Kleinhans, Town Administrator, dated May 20th, 2026.
Seconded by Laura. All right. Bernie.
You know, I'm sorry. I think I did mean to say number 3. I apologize. It's for the big budget, all those paper, with the totals of
Hold on.
past tax.
Hold on.
I think I'm in the wrong one.
Hold on. We already passed 2 and 3.
Number
We pulled the tax one.
No, it was the one at the end. I apologize. You know what? You guys already did it, so like, there's nothing I can do. It's the wrong one. It
Okay.
says taxes. I was looking at the one that has all of the past taxes for the businesses. That's the one that
We're not there yet.
I okay. I didn't
not
think we
there
went past it, but
Okay.
that's what I was.
All right. Anybody else on consent number 1? All right. All in favor of consent 1? Unanimous. All right. It's all right. I made that mistake myself. All right. So the next one is business. Hold on. New business number 1. We are going to pull that one because there are no projects. So we had to do the public hearing. We didn't have a choice in that, but we currently don't have a project. So this will come back if we get a project for the rest of this year. So does everybody understand that? Any questions on that? Okay. So we all agree. So we're pulling number 1. Let's go to number 2. Hold on. We'll do 5 when we get to it. Go ahead.
It's the discussion.
Oh, never mind. No proposed motion. This is a carry forward from last time, and Lou's here as well. So the go back to the discussion that we had. Do we have the? I got the forms. Thank you. Chris. So the state gave us a one-time payment, gave us some one-time monies. They gave us two sets of money for the town side of government. One is the supplemental revenue sharing, which is $500,000, and the other is the supplemental Pequot Mohegan of $325,941, for a total on the town side of $825,941. This can be used to offset the mill rate. And then there's another set of money, which is the supplemental state education aid in the amount of $3,276,608. And the discussion last time centered around using this money to lower our mill rate. Right now, if we did nothing, our increase would be 1.75%, which is one of the lowest in the area. And then last time we talked, there were two thoughts. One was use the 825,941 to lower our mill rate. And then there was other talk of taking some of that state money to lower our mill rate even more. And part of that discussion was if you take that money this year, it creates a hole for next year. Because the majority of the money in the budget is for salaries. So the state gave you this one chomp of money, and I think it was for election purposes. But they is no guarantee of any money next year. So if you take say you took all this money, which is just over $4 million. That means you start next year $4 million in the hole because of this one-time fund. And this is the discussion we were talking about last time. What could we take to lower the mill rate and at the same time not create such a hole next year that we have a massive increase next year? It's like take money this year and pass the buck next year, essentially. And anytime the state says, well, we might give you money next year, anybody that's been in government long enough knows that when the state says that, the chances of getting any more money next year are pretty much zero. All right. So the discussion is going to be opened. And who's first? Mike.
Through your mayor, could I ask the town attorney to please come forward?
Nope.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want some clarification on some language.
Hold on one second. Give me a second. I guess there's been some sort of a change since last time that we don't have to go out to a public vote anymore. Okay.
We don't want.
That's what I was just told. That's on the school money. All right. Sorry. Go ahead.
Okay. So as I interpret this and many others, the $3+ million was put into the school budget to help offset the operating expenses to reduce the town taxes. Was the sole purpose from some of the constituents that represent us in Hartford. So the full intent of this was to give the towns some tax relief so they could be able to help fund the school's budget and so on and so forth, because everybody was complaining about the hit that was happening with the schools and all that stuff. Now, what I'm wondering here is we've already been through with the last meeting with the 800,000+ that we received from Pequot in the state. It would only require an additional $500,000 out of this 3.2 million to bring it back to the town to zero out our current increase that we voted on recently. So we would have a zero increase with $500,000. and the 2.7 million left would still be in the Board of Ed budget. My worries is, number one, the full intent of this was to give tax relief for the towns. And it states here in the OPM wording that the municipalities will report on the expense categories to the additional funds are attributed to the impact of the tax levy on the mill rate. So I'm reading that as they have to report to OPM as to what they did with the money. And the full intent of this, like I said, was for tax purposes, to give a break on the taxes. This is separate from the ECS Alliance payments. This is actually a revenue, to the towns. It is amend this budget in the amount not exceeding the increase in the state aid to such municipalities. Adjust the tax levy and the amount of any remaining installments of such taxes no later than July 1st, 2026. So the sole purpose of this is to apply it toward the taxes, which is what I'm reading into it. And for the $500,000, we would, which is minimal to have to pull from this because of the other monies that we received, to zero out our mill rate increase. And it would, like I said before, it would still leave, $2,700,000 plus in the Board of Ed budget. We would be fulfilling that obligation because we did lower our mill rate. So when we do report back to them, and we have zeroed it out, I was just wondering your interpretation of the actual language on this, and can it be used for new projects?
The statute and the relevant portion of it is Senate Amendment A to House Bill 5563.
Yeah.
There is a provision here. It's about a paragraph that says what the board may do. And generally speaking, you have pretty wide discretion. You may apply it for tax relief. You may apply it for, you may use it for other purposes. They do set some parameters, but first off, and I think the mayor clarified it before, the town council, you don't need to have another town meeting to change the budget. It's specifically outlined in the statute that they allow the legislative body to make the change. And the part that I would read to you, it's a little bit long, but I'll read it. This is the section right out of the Senate amendment. It says, notwithstanding the provisions of Section 12-142 of the General Statutes, Title 7 of the General Statutes, Chapters 170 and 204 of the General Statutes, any special act, any municipal charter, or any home rule ordinance, if a municipality or regional board of education has adopted a budget or levied taxes for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2027, prior to the adoption of the state budget for said fiscal year. And that's Vernon. They did it a few days before this was adopted. And such municipality or regional board of education receives, pursuant to such adopted state budget, an amount of state aid more than the amount projected in the municipalities or regional board of education's adopted budget. That happened here. Such one municipality by amount projected in the municipalities or regional board of education's such one municipality by a vote of its legislative body, or in a municipality where the legislative body is a town meeting by a vote of its board of selectmen, or two deals with regional board of education. And here's the key word: may. Doesn't say shall, it says may. A, amend its budget, and B, not later than July 1st of 2026, adjust the tax levy and the amount of any remaining installments of such taxes, provided such amended budget shall not reduce the amount provided by the municipality to the local or regional board of education for education purposes below the greater of the amount of local funding provided for such purpose under the adopted budget, or 2, the minimum budget requirement for the town pursuant to 10-262J. So you can't go below what you've already adopted for the current education budget. Plus, the amounts paid to the municipality or regional Board of Education pursuant to sections 391 and 394 of substitute Senate bill of the current session as amended by Senate Amendment Schedule A. This amendment to such budget shall be an amount not exceeding the increase in aid to the municipality or regional Board of Education. So that sentence, I believe, anticipates that some of it will be used to, that some municipalities may anticipate using it to increase their budget, but you can't do it by more than the increase in aid that's being provided. So the statute provides you with pretty wide discretion with what you can do with it. So it's in your discretion. You can apply it all to lowering the mill rate. You could apply it all for you could spend it, or you could do something in between. And I think the intent of that was to put municipalities who already adopted their budget on equal footing with those municipalities who had not yet adopted their budget. If you had not yet adopted your budget, you could do all of those things. This is a provision here that allows municipalities that already adopted their budget to go back and adjust it, so to speak.
Okay, so you're saying that we would have to go out to a public vote to take 500,000 and move it over?
No, that's changed.
Okay, so that's changed. Okay, I was going to say. Okay, thank you. Yeah, because it's So, I mean, my stance still stays the same. I'm hearing from a lot of people in town and everything that are really hurting and struggling, and everybody's increasing. Every source wants to go up. Insurance goes up. Everything goes up, except your pay. And this would really help to have a zero increase in our mill rate for this year, for the sum of 500,000 out of this 3.2 million. I see it as a no-brainer to help my neighbors. And plus, like I was told by several of, our representatives out of Hartford, that this wouldn't look favorable for us in Hartford with our representatives and stuff when they, trying to fight for more money for Vernon in the future. There could be repercussions coming our way because of it. So I'm going to, stay strong and say I want to bring that 500 over and zero the mill rate. All right. I thank you for the clarification. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mack.
Okay. So again, I'm going to reiterate or re-say what I said before. That would bring it up to $1.325941, $1,325,941. If that's the entire amount, then that's actually, Frank, is that going to zero that out? Come on up. You can sit with Lou. Have a seat with Lou. The microphone.
Oh, it's off. Okay. All right, sorry about that. Can you just repeat your question so I can answer it properly?
Is the $1,325,941, is that going to zero out the budget?
The 1,320,000. Okay. Oh yes, it would.
Okay.
So if you added the $3,276,000 of the additional education state aid, if $500,000 of that were added to revenue, it would bring the mill rate to zero increase.
Okay.
Then the schools would be receiving the balance of it, $2,776,608.
Okay. So, again, one-time monies. That means next year we're going to start $1,325,941 in the hole. Is that correct?
It will be accurate if we do not get money next year.
Right. And everything keeps going up. We all know that. It also goes up for government. and it goes out for unfunded mandates from the state of Connecticut. And anybody that doesn't know what that is, they pass a law saying you have to do this and then don't provide any money for it. And every single year they do that. And every single year our local property taxes have to make up for it. So there's a lot of pressure on all sides, including on our own households. We all know what groceries cost. We all know what gas is costing right now. It's excessive. And as a government, we came in at a budget of 1.75%. If you compare that to any of the surrounding towns, we've always been on top of our budget. And we always do this in a way that, we keep the taxpayers in mind. So bringing this forward, I just don't want to go into next year. Let's break down the numbers first. We would zero it this year. The 1.75% this year is what we start next year. And we know that the salaries are going up, but their contracts, we're probably going to go up probably about the same. So the initial thing we were talking about last time is taking the 825 out of the town side. And what that breaks down to on a $300,000 house, it's $66 a year by reducing the mill rate by that amount. That's a smaller increase than next year having to pay, again, with the 825 and the 500,000. We're going into next year in a hole. It's easier to make up the 825,000 than it is to make up the $1.3 million. All right. So I'm going to let everybody else have an opportunity to talk to Phyllis.
Thank you. Through you, I'm wondering, I think some of my questions would be answered by these two gentlemen, but some questions might be better answered by our superintendent. Is it possible to bring Mr. McCary?
Joe, you want to come up too? Got you in front of us another time before you leave.
We're trying to get as much as we can.
So, actually, Lou, you might be the one to answer this. I think my questions will need you all. In the statute, if I understand correctly, the Board of Ed, if we do not, whatever money they end up with, must use that within a year. Is that?
Yes.
So, Mr. McCary, Dr. McCary, does the school board have a list of necessary projects like the sewer up at the high school? Is there, if we said, here's this money, can you use it now for necessary repairs that would otherwise have to be budgeted next year, maybe the year after?
So the short answer is yes. We have capital improvement projects that we submit through the board budget. The town council sees it. We have it for the next 6 years. So the answer is yes. And just to add to that, we could also save, because if some of those projects were too big and we had to bond them, it would be better to use this money and not bond it and put interest on the taxpayers of Vernon.
Right. So, Frank, if we did not give the full sum to the Board of Ed, but then had to add, I don't know what that sewer is going to cost, but it's not cheap, and some of the other projects. If we add that back in to next year's budget, what will that cost the taxpayers? If we have to make up, what will that cost? Even if we only take 500,000 on top of the 800 plus, what will that do to? I know it's hard to come up with an exact.
I think what you're basically saying is we're going to pay these projects out of this money, so that we're not adding those into the budget next year.
Exactly.
Right.
So if we do those projects now, first of all, they're going to cost less because nothing gets cheaper. So the sooner we do projects that must be done, and the sewer is that's hard to argue with. It has to happen. If we put it off, it's going to cost us more, and it's going to add to what the taxpayers are going to be. They're already going to be making up the fiscal cliff or the hole that we create by using that money to reduce the budget, and they're going to have to pay for some of the projects for the school system. That's a hard question to
asking me a
answer.
tricky question.
Well, let's look at it this. Hold on. Well, let's look at it this way. The Board of Education would right now be spending $3,276,608 that we'd be putting towards the projects. If you minus the $500,000 that Mr. Wendis wanted to take out, and we pay a project next year with that $500,000, that would increase the budget by $500,000 next year. I mean, that's just a simple version.
Right.
And if you add that $500,000 on, it's basically going to put us at the 1.3 million, it's 1.325, $941,000 or $941 increase to start in next year's budget.
Plus, we'll have to put money in for
Right.
some of these projects. Some might be able to put off for another year or two, but some not. And again, they're just going to cost us more money. And we probably can't predict now what the effect of reevaluation is going to do. And I know typically we lower the mill rate, but the fact is this reevaluation is likely to really impact homeowners. So we'd be increasing their home taxes. We'd be increasing their town taxes because there's a hole in the budget. And then we would also have to pay for these projects that this money could do now for less.
All valid points. So even the $500,000, that's equates to the 0.22 mil. So that's would be an automatic increase next year if we don't get that funding. And like you're saying, whatever projects are in the current budget for the Board of Ed, I don't know what the total capital projects are. Just pick out a number, say 700,000. I'm not sure. Then the rest of those, the 2 million, the difference between the 3,000,002 and the 750,000 I just was coming up with would be obviously money that hopefully this money would cover capital projects and they wouldn't have to do it in the future. And also, there's a potential if the board were to not expend their full budget, their local budget, there could be a surplus at the end of the year, which then can go into the capital non-recurring fund. That is a possibility that could easily happen.
So if we only use the 800,000 round numbers, that would bring the mill increase to 0.22.
That's correct.
Can you put that in numbers for a $300,000 house?
Yes.
$66 a year.
Okay. So the only increase, if we use that $800,000 that came to the town and nothing else, and allowed the board to do those necessary projects at a time when it's cheaper, a $300,000 household would only pay $66 more in the coming year in taxes.
Correct.
Which is what?
$5.50
$5 a month.
$5.50 a month.
Yeah. And I don't want to belittle, any increase is tough on all of us, but as I said at the last meeting, you either take the savings now and then pay considerably more the next year. That's the part. I would love to zero out our tax increase, but if I'm looking at next year, it's going to be even higher if we take that action. I have a hard time saying to people, we're helping you now, but we're going to get you next year. Thank you.
Well, do we have any idea what that noise is?
Air conditioner.
I don't think I've ever heard it before. That's odd. Bill. Oh, Tricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dr. McCary, I have a question through you. Dr. McCary, I have a question. Do you have over $2 million worth of shovel-ready projects ready to roll?
Shovel ready is a tough concept because if you're talking that much, we've got to follow the town procurement procedures. So we'd have to go out to bid for that. But easily there's $20 million over the next 6 years that we can spend on. And instead of us coming here for a bonding package, we could get that stuff done ahead of time.
And you're confident that we could expend these funds, not encumber, expend these funds in the next year?
Yes. The 3.2, yes.
Thank you.
Bill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment and then a question. The comment is that this is being characterized as whether or not we're going to use these funds to relieve the burden on the taxpayers. And I just want to point out that no matter what we do, we're relieving the burden on the taxpayers, whether it's in the form of additional mill rate reductions in the current budget, or if it's offsetting future costs that we will ultimately have to ask the taxpayers to pay for in a future budget. It's the question we're dealing with is not whether or not to give tax relief. It's what kind of tax relief. And I think I'm confident, and Dr. McCary will correct me if I'm wrong, I think I'm confident based on the answers to the previous questions in understanding that the things that the Board of Ed would spend this money on are things we would eventually have to ask the taxpayers to pay for in a future budget one way or another. So I just wanted to make that clear. Now, the question I have through you to Lou is following on a comment that Dr. Buxton made just a moment ago. Do you read the statute as saying that we have to actually expend the funds by within the 1 year period, or would simply having them on contract and encumbered be sufficient to meet the legislative intent?
That I'd have to look more into. What you can't do is add it to your fund balance.
Right. I understand that.
Yeah.
But in any case, Dr. McCary, you think you're confident you could actually spend those funds within the year time frame?
Yes, we can definitely spend.
I should say not you, but your successor.
I think we can definitely spend $3.2 million. Already in my head, I'm thinking, the HVAC units at Vernon Center Middle School and at the high school, two facilities that we use all the time, regional center for a shelter, and then the high school is used all the time. We could easily do that. However, I just spoke to our town attorney and to our finance director. I'm not sure if appropriated or expended is in that statute. And that's something that we've talked about in the board. So we feel that if, for example, if it's appropriated to a town fund like capital non-reoccurring, that we can spend the money later on, that would be wise, because there's no way to spend it so quickly. But this is what we can do is strategically.
Under the most restrictive interpretation, which is that we would have to actually spend the money within the year, you're confident we can?
Yeah, we can do it for sure.
Thank you.
Just
one of the things I just want to remind everybody is the ARPA funds, when we received them and they were to be expended, halfway through they changed some of the rules. And that's just a thing that the state feds like to do to us as well. So keep that in mind. We may be coming back and forth, but we have a motion that was prepared for us no matter what direction we go here tonight. So we can answer that.
I'm sorry, Mayor. Can I follow up to your comment?
Yes.
Having done this for a while, the mayor is 100% right. You've got to be careful with this funding. It's one-time funding only. It's very dangerous. The mayor and I have talked about this. When we received the ARPA funding through COVID, we made sure from the town and the board, we only spent it on things that weren't going to be recurring, because then we would have gotten into a trap. And we did it. We did the science labs at the high school. We did some HVAC. The town did a lot of projects. Check, all positives. Because sooner or later, we would have spent that money either bonding it or spending it out or escalator. Just be careful. That's my only advice, because I heard previous comments. This bill was revised 3 times by the legislature. They didn't get it right the first time, the second time, and supposedly they get it right the third time. Having done this for a while, I'm cautious to be careful with the money. So I apologize, Mayor, just to follow.
No, you're right. You're right.
My understanding from reading information from OPM, this money needs to be dispersed by the end of the fiscal year. We have to use it. So, in any case, if it's not going to be on capital projects, the Board of Education can move costs out of their local budget over to this potentially special funds, and that would, of course, maybe leave a surplus in the general fund. But we'll see what happens. But I'm 99% sure it is you need to disperse it.
Just I'm looking at the OPM memorandum that was sent to the municipalities, and it says municipalities will be required to report on the expenditure of these funds to OPM by January 1st, 2027.
Okay. So just one other follow-up. Sorry, I know we're really into this, but expenditure is different than expending, which is different than appropriating. So, we may be out talking to the mayor about this, but we may be getting legal opinion to say to the state, what is that exactly for Vernon? Right? So that we know what we're talking about. I apologize. Sorry, Mayor.
We have, like you said, you have a lot of capital projects out there. And I think right away the Board of Ed has to jump on this. They can't sit and wait. They got to go to this. They've got to figure out the exact amounts, no matter what amount is determined tonight. And literally by the end of the summer, you got to start the process if it's going to be spent within that year that they require. All right, Bernie, you had your hand up.
Through you, Mayor. I just really want to make this as easy as possible to understand. So we have a 1.7 increase right now in our mill rate that the budget we just passed.
No, 1.75% increase.
Right.
The mill rate is
that's what it is. It's two numbers.
Right now, the approved mill rate is 36.72. If we take the 800,000, it drops to 36.31. And if you remove it all, 36.0. No, it's right there. The 26, 45, which would be the 36.09. Yeah. So basically, if we spent it all, it would drop to 36.09 because that's what it currently is. If we took the 800,000, it would drop to 36.31.
That's exactly the question that I asked. So it will be going down now, but we're not going to owe more later.
Right.
If we took this $500,000 from the Board of Ed, which is very important, with all the projects that we have been talking about. So, all right, I see for myself that this is a good thing to we're going to get hit twice, but I'd rather get hit a little softer in the future than knowing we're going in there with a bigger demand or ask. Thank you, Mayor. That makes a little sense.
Like I said in the beginning, we work very hard on our budget. When it gets to you, our department heads have worked hard on it. The Board of Education has gone through a lot of steps, and to come out at 1.75, especially when others are coming out at 8, 9, 10. We did a pretty good job this year, and we added the Board of Education, or you guys lowered it by another 0.1, something like that, 0.1. So, all around, we provided a good budget, and now we're looking at lowering it even more here. But the 825,000 would be a lot easier dealing with next year than 1.3 million. And I would like a soft hit. I would love if we could go zeros. I went 7 years with zeros. We did that. But, inflation caught up with the town as well. And we never lost anything. So, that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Anybody else? Marianne.
I'm concerned. The gas is up, electric's going up, heating oil's up, propane gas, everything is up. The 500,000 that would plug the hole would still leave the Board of Ed with 2.7.
Yep.
million. Plus, is there 900,000 in there already in the capital reoccurring?
There is 900,000 capital.
So that still would be a 3.2 roughly. So it's still a big amount. I'm worried about the shovel ready. If it needs shovel ready projects, is it going to carry over?
The 900,000 stays in that. That's not a carry. That will carry over.
I realize that. I
Right.
realize that. But what I'm saying is that 2.7. What happens if all of a sudden they pull it, or we don't have the projects ready on time?
So if they pull it, say they took some of that money back after the election, we would lose that money. But if we haven't spent the money, we don't lose the money. I'm hoping that wouldn't happen because they gave these cities quite a bit of money, and I don't see them pulling that back.
I'm just concerned. I just saw a huge filing of liens against homes in our town. I've watched the foreclosures. You got to realize the life that I led was tax collector and assessor. So it's like I've been here and done this a long time ago, but it's right back at us. Thank you.
Mike?
Through you, Mayor. Good evening, Superintendent. Good evening, Frank. And I haven't had the pleasure of talking to you two yet. Okay, so this money, like we've alluded to several times, we never know what we're getting from the state every year. We never know, okay? We didn't know we were getting this money, all right? This fell in our lap. This is found money, okay? We just passed our budget. To the superintendent, did we cut anything out of your budget this year?
No.
What was the increase of your budget this year?
2.9%.
Since I've been on the council for 9 years, I don't think we've ever denied any funding for the Board of Ed. The capital improvements are usually put into the budget as a needed basis upon the priority of them. Town, Board of Ed, so on and so forth. You're still receiving $2.7 million that you never anticipated having. Your budget is funded 100% currently of what you asked for. So you can fully operate based on what you asked for. This is newfound money. So to take the 500,000, zero out our town side to give our tax people a break. We have revals coming up this year. We've all seen what the surrounding towns are doing. Ellington residential went up 68%. We say we can reduce our mill rate, whatever, but I don't know how far you have to go to reduce 68% on somebody's reval. Obviously, they haven't passed their budget yet. But also, too, the full intent on this, from what I'm hearing, was to help us with our taxes. And we never know, like I said, what we're going to get year to year. So to say this will put us in a hole, this will do this or that. Every year, we basically live off of what our budget is, and we're living off of what could be is coming down the road. So it's everything is uncertain. But the certain thing I know right now is we could take 500,000 and zero out this mill rate and give our people a break, especially with revals. And then 6 months later, we're into another budget season. And everything else is going up. Eversource, like I said before, homeowner insurance keeps going through the roof. Nothing is coming down whatsoever. To give them a break, and it is just huge. But the other thing I worry about, and I said this before, Senator Gordon told me this, it's the political capital for next year at the state capitol. And what that means is intangible. It's the currency of the power, the trust, and the influence that the politicians in your parties or individuals accumulate to drive policy reforms. When they're out here fighting for us, and Vernon did very well in this money, a lot better than a lot of towns around us. When they're fighting for us and stuff, and it's not being utilized for what they intended it to be used, then your political capital comes in for the next time. So we could be losing funding down the road because of the repercussions from not doing this. So there's two sides to everything on here. We're talking about monies. We're going to be in a hole, but we could be losing money by not doing what the intent of it was. So
are you asking me a question?
No, I'm just saying in general. in general.
Well, are you asking me a question to answer? I don't know if I need to answer your question.
So just, I was just curious about your budget, if you got your full funding, all that stuff, everything going forward. So like I said, this is newfound money for you. Even at the 2.7, that's still newfound money. You weren't expecting it, so you're fully operational with the budget. So the 500,000 to me would help this side of it over here and give the residents that break, and you would receive the 2.7 million. I guess I'm a lone wolf in this, but that's where I stand. Thank you.
May I respond, Mayor?
Let me answer first. Given what you just said, you were talking about the reval and the amount, which you're talking about. You're referencing a big increase next year. And then we want to push 1.3 million off to next year as well. And then whatever the cost increases that go into next year too. That's a massive increase. We are talking when we talk and we look at this, a $300,000 house is $66. That's $5.50 a month. It's a small increase now, and I understand everybody's suffering. I don't like my bills either. But if you're projecting these big increases next year, I don't know why we want to push even more off to next year. It's like falling off a cliff. And we were very careful with all that federal money that we spent none that was going to create a cliff that we fall off of. And you look at, I think it was Bridgeport who had to lay off this mass amount of teachers because they did exactly what we didn't want to do. And that's put a bunch of money in that, bunch of positions in that federal money and fell off a cliff. And we avoided it. We did great. We did great with our budgets. Our insurance crushed us 2 years in a row. But beyond that, we're very good with our budget. But to create a cliff, knowing that there's a possible cliff, I don't understand why we want to pack on to that. And as far as the revaluation, we're going to balance that out the best we can because we're not going to try and take this big hit like these other towns did. We are very financially responsible in this town, and we always have been. Laura.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a comment. As a taxpayer, yes, I might save $66 this year. But I'm looking to next year because when I budget far out. And my concern is that here I am next year with that $1.2, $1.3 million hole to start with. And then the reevaluation, which I know we make the adjustments on the mill rate to balance it out. But I'm concerned about what's going to happen next year. If we do this year and do the whole 1.2 million, next year we might pay for it. I personally like to make sure things are level in my spending. I'm retired. My spending has to be level. I do not want to have a cliff to fall off because of the spending next year, because of what we're doing this year. So I think that $825,000 this year is lowering our mill rate to an extremely reasonable amount. Next year, I'm hoping because of not taking this huge risk, we're going to be able to keep it reasonable next year as well. So that's where I stand on this.
Lori.
Hi, thank you. Me as a taxpayer as well, I agree. And I understand Ms. Sylvester talking about bills going up, but some of our issues, not the fact that we can't afford stuff because our jobs and stuff isn't paying enough to afford stuff. So it's really not got nothing to do with whether this goes up or that, or we're baseline not being paid enough to live, period. That's just why it is, and stuff is still going up. So I agree with Miss Bush that I too, $66, I can do that. I can do $66 this year versus $166 or 250 or 350 next year, and then you're like, oh crap, now Tasha's coming after me because I haven't paid my taxes. So I would rather like give the Board of Ed what they're supposed to have. I know Mr. Windus is concerned that taxes, but from my understanding, we got some for the town side and some for the BOE side. So even if we give them just the 825,000, that would fit the town side piece, and give the BOE that piece. Our children are our future. We don't take care of them now. We have to wait. They're our future. They take care of us. So if we don't take care of them, they might not take care of us. Our schools are very important. The kids are in there every day. Sewer system making kids sick. I just want to share that. Thank you.
Tricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to Finance Director. We keep bouncing the number of a $300,000 house. What about the people who have a $900,000 house? Can you give me that figure, please?
It's $22 per 100,000.
Yep. So 66 times 3. If it's 900,000, so $200.
$200
Yeah.
a year?
Well, for next year.
So it would go up $200 for an entire year.
Yeah.
All right. And then may I follow up with a second question for the town attorney?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. You had some fuzziness over the definitions of certain words.
Correct. Wasn't anticipating this. I'll have to look at the statute more.
Right.
And I'm not sure it may not be clear in there either.
So given that makes me very uncomfortable.
Should.
In that there may be, and albeit may be very small, chance that, like with any grant, if you don't expend the funds within a certain period of time for the purpose in which they were intended, the money has to go back to the funder. Is that correct?
It depends on the grant.
Depends on the grant, right? Thank you.
So.
Thank you, Mayor. So I know we talk about this 1.3 with the in the hole rather than 800,000, but my thought on that is that whether we go with 800,000 or 1.3, they're both budget, education, and our budget come from the same pot, I assume. So we're going to be in the same hole regardless how we spend that money, correct?
Trying to figure out if I understand what you just said. The 1.325, if we took the $500,000, what you're saying that?
I'm asking what the thing is, even whether we do it or not, together, all this money is going to come from whatever the mine, right, is going to come from out of our budget for next year, you're saying, right? The whole. So whether we take it out of the education or we give it all to education, it's still going to be that 1.3 something $billion in the whole. So it's come from the same budget, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah. So here's the difference. The 1.325941. If we take the 500,000, the Board of Education has a minimum budget requirement, so they don't lose the money next year. Okay. So the 1.325 some of it can be taken out of an increase they offer, which means a reduction in services, and then it would be taken from our side, or we just increase taxes overall. But with the increase that we require next year, because we have contracts and we have health insurance that keeps going up, it's a cliff. That's what I keep saying. We're going to fall off a cliff if we take off too much money. The 825, there is a difference between 825 and 1.3 million. The 825, we can hopefully absorb that, and because we work hard every year to make reductions, to find different ways to pay for things, to look for grants. We get a lot of grants. We have an outstanding grant writer that we can offset as well. But the higher amount you take, the harder it is going to be to keep from falling too hard off that cliff. And then part two on that, we do have the reval. When we adjusted last time, it didn't cover everybody. It covered the majority of the houses that we were able to keep at around zero. Obviously, anybody that's done work to their houses, increase the value of their houses one way or another, that's a little tougher. But I've been through this once before, and I'm sure we'll navigate it again. But everything you add on there just increases that cliff, which is something I'm not comfortable with. And anytime you get a one-time fee that's not made up next year, you have to worry about it, especially when the wording comes out a little fuzzy and the state changes their rules. Now, here's an interesting thing, though. Sometimes when they give you that 1 year deadline, the city's got a lot more money than we did, a lot more money, and they have a lot more legislators. So if all of a sudden it gets in trouble with them during the next legislative session, they may actually extend that time. But again, it's something we can't rely on. And there's a lot of ifs and ands when it comes to the money. But, I want to avoid the cliff. And the extent of that legislation was to lower the mill rate. And with either part, we're going to lower the mill rate. Whether we take the 825,941 or whether we take the 1.325,941. Either way, we're going to lower the mill rate.
Right. That's what I was trying to get at. So either way, we're going to get into whether we're going to hit it soft or we're going to a little bit harder. Right. So let's say that when all this money do come to it, we're going to take it in as a revenue, or how does that, what can we allocate it to the education, the certain amount, and then the other towards our town?
Put some of this money aside for next year?
No, I'm asking when we get the money, or is it already here? Where does that money go then?
I'm having a tough time because my little device is not working and I forgot my hearing aids again. So, what's that? Fred, can you answer that? That'll help me.
Right. So the 825,941 will be considered if you proceed.
Pull that a little closer.
Yeah, the 825,941 of supplemental municipal estate aid, that would be considered general fund revenue. So if you make a motion tonight and you say that's how you want to use the money, that's fine. And then it'll, like we said, it'll reduce the mill rate down to 36.31. And then the remaining $3,200,000, you have to decide on what to do with that. So you're talking about it right now. It could obviously all go to the Board of Ed, or you have the ability to use a part of that to reduce the mill rate further. So that's where we're at.
So we go directly to the Board of Education if we decided to. Is that how that works?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
So we go directly to the Board of Education?
Yeah, so the Board of Education would be the recipient of whatever, $3,200,000 or less. They will be putting that money, presumably, in the special funds, in which they very likely will need to spend entirely by the end of the fiscal year.
So let me ask you another question. I just want to understand the process here. There's a certain amount of money that's going to come in. There's two different areas, right? There's $800,000 and the $3-point-something million. That sum, that total sum, what is the process for us to get that here? Okay. And once they get here, how do we allocate that?
Okay, so the both streams of money, the municipal money, the $825,000 will be received by the town by October 1st. That money then is, if it's going to just go into the general fund. And if you were to tonight decide to take that money against the mill rate, then it'll be revenues will come in and it'll match the budget for this item, the $825,000. Then separately to that, the state will be sending, State Department of Education sends the $3,200,000. It comes to the town and it gets transferred over to the Board of Ed to spend, presumably in a special fund. That's possible. That can be worked out like that. And then that special fund would be the Board of Ed's in charge of that. They decide how they're going to spend it. And talking to the auditors, what they told me, that they believe it needs to be expended by the end of the year.
So, just one more question to Dr. McCarty. So, whether we get the full 3.6 or the 2.7, where the case.
The $3.2 million should be in the town funds by October 1st. That's
And
what
we
the
have,
statute
and
states.
you have priorities, a list of priorities that you already set that you're going to do.
We have over $20 million in capital projects over the next 6 years. But what we would do is prioritize them for the $3.2 million and go full steam ahead. Also, just as you know, there's a bonding package coming your way soon. I don't know when it's going to come, but it's soon. But instead of bonding the full amount, we may take this $3.2 million and use that money so that we don't have to bond it to the taxpayers. Now they don't have to pay interest.
Thank you.
Phyllis.
Thank you. Through you. So I want to make a comment that I'm going to disagree with Senator Gordon. If we took that money and had a party, I could see them having a problem with us. But if we are using it for education, whether it's to lower this year's tax or mill rate or next year's mill rate, it's still necessary expenditure. If we do it now, it's going to cost less than next year. But these projects have to be done. So saving people essentially $5 a month now and then saying, well, next year you're going to pay that $5 plus all of this, because that was sort of a false mill rate based on one-time money. And I think when we report how we spent the money with Board of Ed projects, that puts off an increase to the community for the next year. The reevaluation isn't going to hit us on top of this year's budget. It's next year's budget. So we're compounding the problem. We got to pay for the cliff. We still have to do projects, and we have reevaluation. And from what I'm hearing from other towns, this reevaluation is going to hit homeowners much more than commercial property. So it's going to be harder for this town council or any town council to reduce the mill rate enough to completely offset it. And I do want us to really think about, and I talked to Frank about this, it was a number of years ago, that we got extra money from Blue Cross Blue Shield when they demutualized. Individuals got some money, but the town got money. And it created a cliff for the next budget. It's exactly what we're trying to avoid, or some of us are trying to avoid. It meant that the next year, even without any increases, and we know everything's increasing, oil, all the products that our public works use, and we've already negotiated raises for employees. So we're going to have to cover that as well. So if we save the taxpayers enough money that they're only paying on average $5.50 more a month, but next year it's going to be a wallop of a number, regardless of what we do. If the state magically comes up with extra money next year, that's great. But we'll have done projects for less than it will cost in a year that won't be compounded by reevaluation. Dr. McCary has made it very clear they will have no trouble spending that money within the year. So I have a hard time understanding that it's worth saving $5 a month to then next year having this huge increase because we took one-time money and used it for everyday expenses. There is not fluff in our budget. I mean, we all went through it carefully, and we cut $110 $10,000. I think that was it. There just wasn't stuff to cut. So it's not going to be any easier next year. It's just going to be that much more. So I just trying to avoid compounding the impact on taxpayers, including me, two retirees in our house. I don't want a big surprise next year. You know, you get lulled into, oh, well, we had no tax increase this year. And then next year, what happened? It just throws everything off. So I think the 800,000 plus lowers it enough that it goes with the spirit of the law. And then we get these projects done at a cheaper rate than they will ever be. Thank you.
I'm going to call for a 5-minute break. Okay? We got to ask some questions. All right, thanks. Take 5 minutes. All right, guys ready? We have a seat? All right, any more questions on this? Any more questions? No? Laura?
The Town Council hereby resolves that pursuant to Connecticut General Assembly State Amendment to the House Bill 5563, that fiscal year 2026-27 approved municipal state aid in the amount of $825,941 to the town of Vernon be utilized to adjust the July 1st, 2026 tax levy.
Seconded by Phyllis. All right, so what this one was is the $825,941 is going to be used to reduce the taxes. We have a second. Any questions on that? We've answered all the questions. All right, all in favor of the $825,941 used to offset taxes? Unanimous. Okay. Yeah.
Proposed motion, the town council hereby resolves that pursuant to Connecticut General Assembly Senate Amendment A to House Bill 5563, that fiscal year 2026-2027 approved supplemental education state and grant funds in the amount of $3,276,608 to the town of Vernon be received by the Board of Education special funds account with the intent that such funding be fully utilized during the said fiscal year.
Second.
Seconded by Lori. I almost called you by the wrong name. Sorry, Lori. Any questions on that? Patricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There's no language of it being offsetting taxes.
Right.
Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, all in favor?
Hold on.
Sorry. So this is the whole amount is what we're voting for to the Board of Education. So
To education, yes.
okay.
Okay.
Question.
Yep.
To you, Mayor. So whether it's a 2.7 or 3.2, it's going into the Board of Ed. Is that going into the capital reoccurrence so we have the final say in what it's spent on?
It's going into their special fund, which is the same thing, right?
would it come to us for
Hold on.
expenditure?
Okay,
Frank.
If this motion passes, it goes to the Board of Ed Special Funds, and the Board of Ed, they take care of that. It does not come back to the town council.
So there's not going through the town council at all. Is that the way the language is written?
It's well at this after you guys vote tonight. I believe
I can't hear you, Frank. You got to pull it a little
Okay,
closer.
after tonight's vote, I am almost certain that the whole purview of this goes to the Board of Ed.
Okay. I thought originally it was going through the Capitol. No.
Oh, we did. That was discussed at the last meeting. I talked to the auditors and administration, and we thought, and Bill Meyer, that it's going to a special funds would be easier.
Easier to move it through the system for the year.
Correct.
Yeah,
Okay.
and we have no control over it, right?
That would be the Board of Ed's control.
Because I mean, legally, we could.
Hold on. Go ahead.
But through the mayor, as we talked about in the last meeting, we would have ongoing conversations with the superintendent and the mayor prior to any of these projects taking place. And I think that in the relationship between the school system and the town side, I think the superintendent and the board would be more than willing to come back here and discuss those projects on an ongoing basis. And I think that would happen.
If all things being equal, if the board spends their budget as proposed and this money is spent, then there could conceivably be a surplus in the Board of Education's operating budget because the capital improvements are going to be paid for by this funding. Then that money is subject to be transferred to the Education Capital Recurring Fund, which the town has control over. So it's indirectly, you indirectly at some point you may have the ability to opine on how that money is used.
Hold on a second. Is this for new projects or just to pay for projects?
This will be for new projects.
Okay. So the stuff that's in the budget already, we can't offset that.
Yeah. So again, I don't know what the number is for the capital improvements in the education's budget. I'm just going to throw out a number, $750,000. If that money, which has already been approved, is then spent out of the $3.2 million, in theory, if the rest of the education budget is spent to the penny, without excluding the $750,000, there'll be a surplus of $750,000 for fiscal year 27, and then the board may vote to move that money over to Education Capital Recurring Fund at the end of the fiscal year. And at that point, that's when the Board of Ed brings projects to the town council for approval. So indirectly, down the line, there could be that happening.
Okay.
Well, because I don't, I mean, by the verbiage that I'm reading through this paperwork, we can literally take the 3.2 million, put it into the Board of Ed, remove all of it, and lower our mill rate if we so chose to. So that being said, if we're putting that money into the Board of Ed account, I would like the town council to have some kind of control over where this is being spent. So we have a voice in it, because, like I said, our taxpayers, we could have actually lowered our mill rate with this money, and we're foregoing that. So I would like some kind of control with this somehow, whether it be the capital non-recurrent or something. I don't want to lose total control over it.
So, with all due respect, the $3.2 million is the purview of the Board of Education per the statute. Personally and professionally, I would recommend putting it in capital non-reoccurring. However, OPM has said to us we should keep it separate. So I think we need to keep it separate in a different account, but treat it like capital non-reoccurring. I know I'm not making sense professionally, but right? Because they've told us keep the money separate so we can account for it. So I agree with the finance director. We should put it in a fund, but you treat it just like capital non-reoccurring. And as Mr. Kleinahan said, we would work together to see what we're going to spend it on and figure it out. But you got to keep the funding separate.
Right. According to the language, it's separate, but we have shared services. Okay. Phyllis, were you done, Mike?
Yeah, I mean, the verbiage is what I'm concerned about.
Well, we're going by the OPM.
Yeah, because I know, but so they recommended that you put it into that separate account, a different account. But so it's, as we know, we have no control over how you spend it. Mm-hmm. You give us the budget, we approve it, whatever. Mm-hmm. And that's where our jurisdiction ends. So same with this. We put this in that account. Realistically, even though the money's coming in front of us right now, we have control over it, where this money's going. We give it to you, we lose control of that, and my taxpayers no longer have a say in it. So that's why the non-reoccurring to me makes more sense, because we are the governing body for our people, so we would have a voice in this.
Taxpayers always have a voice, because if they don't like what you do, they vote you out.
Mm-hmm.
They always have a say.
So, Mr. Mayor, can I just follow up on that real
Go
quick?
ahead.
I agree with you that it should go in capital non-reoccurring. But the law doesn't account for that, right? So, with all due respect to our legislative delegation, the intent was good, but they screwed up the language. And any of them, I will tell them to their faces, they screwed up the language because they had to vote on it 3 times. And they're causing us more hassle than we could. It would have been easy just to put in capital non-reoccurring. I would have recommended that to the board. We have our systems in place, but we're not like every municipality in Connecticut. We're very different because we're doing things correctly. But legally, we need to keep it separate so that you don't spend more money on the town attorney and the finance director to make sure the money's there.
Is that verbiage that you're referring to not put it in your capital non-reoccurring, is that in the letter that we all got?
That's in the OPM guidance.
Okay.
We can't just put it there. Capital non-reoccurring is designed for funds from the Board of Education that are in surplus to go forward. We use the money. You've seen me many times come and use the money. But according to this verbiage from OPM, we can't do that. So with all due respect, whose right is it to state to tell Vernon what to do with their money?
They love doing that.
That's my point.
Thank you.
Phyllis.
Thank you. I am not worried about what the Board of Ed is going to do. We just heard they have $20,000, $20 million, worth of projects. We elected them. The taxpayers elected them in good faith, and we have no reason to think they will not act in good faith. They are our partners. To me, it's almost like a marriage, and you have to trust your partners unless they give you reason not to. And the communication has been great. The way the board works with the town, the administrations of both, has been really great for the town of Vernon. Not every town has that. And at some point, Vernon didn't have that, where there was, discord between the two bodies. And I just hope that you can all share in that faith in that elected body the same way we have faith in this elected body. Thank you.
Tricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Again, my concern is that the motion doesn't have the words tax relief in it. And my other concern is that the language is very fuzzy and we're still not clear exactly as to the intent of how the money is. Does it need to be the link between expenditure and procurement, and that fuzzy language there makes me very uncomfortable. That's all I wanted to say.
Mr. Mayor, I'm sorry. I'm just reading off Frank's PowerPoint. This is the OPM guidance that we got, and I'm going to quote it. All aid shall be expended for educational purposes only and shall be expended upon the authorization of the local Board of Education. That's in the OPM language.
Sure.
Agree. The money is the Board of Education. They have the right to spend it however they want. The word is expended. That's the fuzziness that I'm hearing amongst the people, amongst the attorney, the finance director, the superintendent. It's that fuzziness in that definition of what does that mean? Can we put it in a separate account, or do we actually need to write a check and spend it in a year?
So through the mayor, it is advisable that you put the money in a separate account first through OPM. I was on the conference call. They told us that we want to protect Vernon. The word expended, I think we're going to need to get a legal opinion on whether it's appropriated, expended, expenditure, right? And now they're costing us more money. The mayor talked about unfunded mandates. We're going to have to spend for a legal opinion now to figure this all out, to know where we are, because Vernon is a special place. Most places don't have the capital non-reoccurring. We do. Can we just take the money and put it in capital non-reoccurring? That's an expenditure. I know it's a different viewpoint, but that's what we're going to have to find out. So my first call is to our town attorney, and we got to get a legal opinion on this. Sorry, Mayor.
It's okay. Bernie.
Through you, Mayor. I heard the amount of $20 million that projects that you guys have within 6 years that should be done or need to be done. And we, with clear math, know that 3 million is going to lessen that $20 million that projects that we need done. Is that correct?
You are correct.
Thank you.
We'll go Tao first. Tao.
Thank you, Mayor. So, I just want to clarify for myself again. So the money, the 3.2. I thought earlier you said that we could utilize that to offset the mill rate as well, but now I'm hearing that it has to go towards education.
I did not say that.
Okay, no, I'm just
reading the OPM guidance that says that 3.2 must be approved by the local board of education. That's in the OPM guidance that I got. So I apologize for being vague. Back to Dr. Buxton's point, it's not written well. They wouldn't get a diploma at Rockville High School for this legislation. Write it well, write it explicitly.
So the 3.2, where do we think that is being earmarked to? Is it purely education, or we still?
Well, the motion is to spend it on education to offset some of the $20 million in expenses and projects that they have. Okay.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, Marion, I'm sorry.
Talk about fuzzy shared services. We have a lot of things that I noticed even when I was doing the budget that I think are fuzzy on the shared services. But I do have a problem with the language. And to tell you the truth, I'm going to abstain on this because I'm not confident enough on the language of that bill. Thanks.
She read the motion. It was seconded. She can still vote, or she can still abstain. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Oh, Phyllis.
To you, I just want to clarify. We have a deadline to make this decision before our next meeting. Am I correct? Did we have till July 1st?
Yeah, we got to print tax bills.
Yeah. So we are probably not going to get that fuzzy language clarified in time to say, oh, let's do this at the next meeting.
So, they can clarify it 2 or 3 more times. I mean, you've been around government enough. I've been around government enough. And again, we go back to my statements on the state.
Right. So sometimes you just have to deal with what you have and make the best decision you can make based on the available information.
Right.
Thank you.
Bill.
So as I understand, thank you, Mr. Mayor. As I recall the motion, it says we're going to use this money in accordance with the statute and in accordance with the requirements of the state. So whatever fuzziness there is on the state, it's not the motion that we're voting on is not fuzzy.
Right.
We're going to comply with the state rules.
Right.
All right. Thank you.
Anybody else? Mike.
Through you, Mayor. So as to answer your question, as I reiterated earlier, we could take all 3.2 million of this, put it in the Board of Ed. We could withdraw it all and reduce our mill rate for the town. That's the way I interpret the language on this. I proposed that we put the 3.2 million in the Board of Ed. We only need 500,000 added to the 800 plus that we're receiving from Pequot and all that to zero our mill rate out, still leaving 2.7 million in the Board of Ed budget. I agree the verbiage in the language in this is fuzzy at best. It's hard to interpret what they want. If we could table this to the next meeting to see if we can get.
We cannot table it. We have to print our bills.
Well, I don't feel comfortable voting on something where nobody really gets a full meaning of or grasp of what the language is. Even according to the panel up there. Okay, well, it is what it is.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. All right. So this is a vote to put the money into the Board of Education. All those in favor of moving the entire amount into the Board of Education for the 3.2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. All opposed? Patricia, Mike, and Tal. Abstention. Marianne is abstaining. You guys got that? Okay. Last one.
Proposed motion, the town council hereby resets the tax rate of 36.72 mils previously set and approved by the town council as its April 28, 2026 special town council meeting for the fiscal year July 1st, 2026 through June 30th, 2027 at 36.31 mils upon taxable real estate and personal property in the town of Vernon pursuant to the provisions of Substitute State Senate Bill 1 of the 2026 legislation session.
Do I have a second? Seconded by Phyllis. Right, questions on this? Right, all in favor? Unanimous. All right, guys, like we did the night we set the mill rate, we have another another signature that we have to sign. So do not leave tonight until you sign this, okay? And if you haven't signed the electric rate, make sure you sign that too. All right, let's keep going.
Thank you.
By authority granted in the Connecticut State Statute, Section 12-165, entitled Municipal Suspense Tax Book, the Town Council approves the placement of properties totaling $422,396.03 contained on the suspense tax ledger report provided by Amanda Taché, Collector of Revenue, dated June 2026.
So who seconded it? Jim seconded it. All right. You want to give us a little education on what the list is?
Absolutely. Ooh, that's loud. Sorry. So the suspense list is a book of taxes that we are deeming that they are going to be uncollectible. So we're basically moving it from our assets to just something that we could collect. So there is not going to be a stoppage of the collection process. So we're still trying to pursue these locations. However, we don't have the most up-to-date mailing address for these people. The businesses have gone out of business years and years ago. They're bankrupt, so we can't collect on bankruptcy. We also have like the hospital. The hospital is a big one that was on there. That was agreed upon by court statute or court stipulation that we were to suspend that. So a lot of this is, if they don't have a proper address, we only have so much resources that we can do. So some of our resources is we reach out to DMV. We see if they have a new vehicle. However, we have exhausted all of that. And as you can see, a lot of them go back to 2010. 2011. Now taxes are only collectible for 15 years. So at this point, that's why, and there's even more that could actually go on it because we just don't have the resources to attempt to collect this funds. However, I do have them still going to our collection agency. So that way they do have the resources that if somebody were to come in and go, hey, I didn't realize I had this, we can collect that bill because it's still on our books. It's just not considered an active asset.
How much was the hospital one?
Oh.
I'm looking and I can't find it.
It's under, they're two separate names. It's, sure. One was the Regency.
Yep.
Right? And then the other one was Vernon Rockville Hospital, I believe is what it was under.
Yep.
And through the mayor, this is through the court stipulation that we reviewed last year this time.
Right. No, I was just interested.
Yep.
I didn't see it the first time I went through all of these. Hold on one second with your questions, guys. So if you went through the pages, I don't know how I missed those, but if you go through the pages, you're going to see a lot of people move, left no address. You're going to see deceased, and you're going to see out of business. Those are your top ones.
Mm-hmm.
This is something we do every single year, and the collection agency will go find them, and they take a percentage, correct?
So they don't take a percentage. They are, so if we are owed $50 for interest in the tax itself, they get 15% on top of that.
Oh, they charge 15%.
So they charge them 15%. So we have it set up here in the office now that if you were to come in and like you had back taxes, we're going to be able to collect that here because we are also collecting that fee and sending it back to them sending that to the collection agency at this point. Plus, they get a letter from TaxServe that says, hey, and it's a generic letter, hey, you owe taxes to the town of Vernon. They tend to come in with that letter and say, hey, what is this letter? Is this a scam? Which I love because it's like everybody thinks everything's a scam, but it makes them come in and I'm like, wait a minute, you're not registered through DMV and here's this. So then we get those back active onto DMV and everything.
Okay. All right. Questions? Bernie.
Through you, Mayor. Always thank you so much for what you do, you and your office. You guys are wonderful. Same with you, John, as well. Everybody that's into the doing this, a part of this, thank you all. But my question that I have, right off the top is we have a lot that are the same person, company, in multiple years. Am I reading this right? Because this is where I'm going. If I owed taxes and I didn't pay, I can't go on to next year and say, hey, I'll give it to you later. Because there's multiple numbers here. There's so many. I'm not going to but you have multiple years, multiple the same person or same company, and exiting for whatever reason, moved, went out of business, whatever. So my question is this: why are they allowed to continue staying in business, not paying their taxes?
So we, as tax collectors, the only stipulation that we have to be able to withhold, we can withhold permits for them if they file for permits. We can do UCC liens, which are filed through the state. Now, once you do that, that means that business, if they go to file for a loan or do anything like that, it'll stop them. However, most of these little companies are just mom and pop companies who are like, yep, okay, I'm here. I have filed with the town clerk as a business.
Mm-hmm.
So they start out filing for business taxes. However, they don't answer. They go out of business. If the assessor side doesn't go out and do their due diligence and look to see if these businesses are still opened, there's no way that the tax collector knows.
So, a question: moving forward now, is there a solution that can stop them? Like,
we have no recourse on personal property. That's the whole big thing. The only recourse that we have are those UCC liens, really. I do know that the assessor has been going out doing more personal property audits.
Okay.
So he's physically on the ground. They're all between him and Jamie. They are both physically on the ground, going door to door, checking out these businesses. And that's why this list is going to keep growing as well. Now, for the motor vehicles, while you're going to see somebody's name 3 times, you get 3 years. You don't have to register your car for 3 years. So if you don't pay your taxes for 3 years, nobody knows, you know? And so that's why my big thing going forward is we're reporting to DMV. We are, in which is one thing that they've always done, but we're staying on top of that now. We are also sending it to the collection agency much sooner. You know, I'm not going to wait 5 and 6 years because you know what? You have moved. I want you to know that I'm going to make sure I'm going to do the most that I can to bring in as much money for Vernon as possible.
I know you're on it, and I know it's going to get done. I'm so glad. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Lori.
Through you, is there a statute of limitations, Tasha, on these balances?
Like, so it's 15 years. So I can only collect taxes for 15 years. So as of 15 years, they fall off of the system. So the 2010 bills that you see on there, which are like 5 and 6 of them, they're going to actually fall off of the system as of July 1st. So each new fiscal year, another set of bills do fall off. And those, once they fall off, once that 15 years hits, I cannot collect them at all. They are deemed uncollectible.
Okay, thank you.
Right. Tal.
Thank you, Madam. So you mentioned you have no recourse
for personal property. So that's the business personal property.
So this value is both personal and motor vehicle, correct?
Correct. And there's a few real estate because court stipulations or bankruptcies.
So how do we address the recourse?
So,
or are we going to continue to do this?
So this is state statute. We do have to file at least one suspense per year. Doesn't matter what reason. We have been doing, one of the other things that I'm looking into is there is a tax collection agency who actually deals with just personal property. So it's still the 15%. However, that company actually files all the UCC liens on these companies and actually has other recourses to find these companies. There's different things like bank executions that they can do and find different things. So that is one thing that I am also looking into, especially for the businesses.
Right. So right now what I'm looking at is that we're trying to take 422 off the books is what we're trying to do.
It's not coming off the books. They're just moving from an active asset to an inactive asset.
Basically mean that we don't see it.
But it doesn't mean that we don't see it. We do see it because sometimes we do receive it from our tax collection agency from, this person who claimed bankruptcy decides, hey, I feel bad. I'm going to pay my back taxes, which they have the right to at that point. Not many people do once they file bankruptcy, but it is still an option for them.
Yeah. So we're still going after them. We're just moving it into a different category right now.
I understand, but I mean, how long? I mean, the recourse is one recourse, right? And then we talked about this limitation, right?
15 years. Taxes are only 15 years.
400 something that we're gonna allow to happen. So we just trying to get 500,000 into off, right, to offset the balance, and here we are at $422,000.
So this 422,000 is just the items that we are deeming as uncollectible, because we haven't found an address, because we haven't done this. There are other properties, there's other personal property that are still active that are not on the suspense list that are also going to fall off as of July 1st.
So there's more to come.
There's not more to come. Those will just fall off because that's the 15-year statute.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, all those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Town Council, consistent with the Town of Vernon Personnel Rules and Regulations, Section 4.1B, entitled Job Descriptions, hereby adopts the job descriptions of Staff Auditor and Deputy Director of Public Works.
Jim seconded. Okay. Done? You wanna...
Let me kick off, Don.
All right.
So through the mayor, these are the third and fourth out of your budget of the new positions. I want to thank Dawn and her team, Lori Porterson, our Assistant Director of HR, as well as Frank Zitkus, Bjorn Burke, our Assistant Finance Officer, and Dwight Reinowitz and his team as well in terms of developing these job descriptions. This was an extensive process of going through and seeing from a departmental need what we were looking for and where we're going to start from when we have these positions to be able to recruit and retain the best employees possible for the town of Vernon. So we're happy to answer any questions in regards to these two positions.
Okay. Mike?
Through your mayor. Good evening. I was just looking at the experience and the training that's required. I don't see any like APWA, like Certified Public Works Professional Management, CPWPM, or Certified Public Infrastructure Inspectors, or Certified Public Works Professional Supervision, CWPS. Any certifications along those lines as requirements for the position?
Through the mayor, these would be higher requirements than the Director of Public Works.
Yeah, well, these are, this is like Certified Public Infrastructure Inspector, validation knowledge needed to inspect roadways, utilities, bridges, and municipal facilities.
Yeah, that's not for that position.
So
the
we don't
bridge
require
inspection
special training.
is going to fall under the engineer.
So we don't do the APWA, American Public Works Association?
That's an organization.
Yeah. Where they offer certification classes for specific things.
Mm-hmm. No, we don't require that.
No?
No.
No specialized training? So they have, we're going to require them to know, how to replace catch basins, laying pipe, grading, and all that stuff. Management skill levels.
Let me I understand what you're saying. And for each job, if we got 50 candidates, I'd be like, we can put a ton of these things on there and it's nonstop, but we don't get 50 candidates. We just hired an engineer, or we're in the process of hiring an engineer, and hopefully it's going to be with us next time. We had one candidate. All right. There's other jobs that we're getting 2 candidates for. the more stuff you put onto these resumes, it's going to go from 2 to 0. All right. When we hire somebody, we're looking at the jobs and skills that they can bring to that position. And you know what? When you get somebody who's worked in public works forever, you know, they're going to be evaluated. We're going to determine, are they going to get an interview? And if they get the interview, they have to pass the interview. But if you get too specific on certifications or anything else, we just don't get the candidates anymore. You know, when I got hired as a policeman, I was one of 500 and something candidates. Now we're lucky if we get 3. And it's getting worse and worse. When I didn't think we were going to get an engineer. I did not think we were going to get one. And there's other jobs that how many years have some of those jobs not been filled? Dawn's been doing this job for a long, long time. And she understands what we need to do to get people to the door. And you just got to understand that if you make this too complex and too deep and require too many things, you're not going to get any applicants.
Yeah, but my concern is if I remember right, according to the budget, it's a $115,000 a year salary.
You're absolutely right. It is.
This isn't small change.
You're absolutely right. And you know what? You're starting to see a lot more employees in Connecticut that are making that.
Well, I mean,
especially public ones. But what I'm saying is that they still have to get through the hiring process.
I mean, I'm just wondering what kind of skill sets we are requiring of them, if any certifications that go along with that, because it is a huge job, and they're next in line to be the director of our public works, which requires even another skill level. So at 115 grand a year, I'm just looking for more substance from these people coming in.
What people?
To offer our town the best.
What people?
For the position, whoever we hire. You know, our residents deserve the best for that kind of money.
Right, but if you look through the knowledge, skills, and abilities, there's a description there. Okay? And I can't repeat this enough. Okay. We don't get enough candidates. We're barely being able to hire. We still have vacancies throughout town.
It doesn't.
And the more stuff you put on there, we described what we're looking for. But the more you put in there, the harder it is to find candidates. Dawn, would you like to answer that too, or?
Sure, through the mayor. When you require certifications, they're going to ask for more money too. So they go hand in hand. And I'm finding that most of our candidates we're going to have to send for training at this point in time. It's just the knowledge, skills, and abilities are just not there at this point in time. So we're going to be spending more money on training up people. And that's what John and I have been working on, is succession planning and working with a plan of action that includes training our staff.
Yeah, that's still a big salary though to train up.
John's going to add into that too.
And through the mayor, we're looking at all these various certifications that Councilmember Windus brings up. I mean, I'd like to increase training budgets. I'd like to have a more progressive training for workers internally to continue to move up. And I think that those are all valid points of the different, national organizations, state organizations, and certification processes. So this is all part of our contingency plan, because in the next 4 years, I believe it's about 30% of our workforce can retire. So we're facing a tsunami in terms of retirements right now. And we're trying to kind of couple a training budget as well as finding the right jobs that fit for the next 5 to 10 years for the town to continue to operate in the best way for our residents. So
I was, just for like a reference, I was talking to my next door neighbor who was running a construction site up at the train station up there with Amtrak and all that. And he's the foreman in the office. He runs the whole thing. And I was telling him this would be perfect for you because he has all the certifications and all that stuff, and he's controlling his whole job and all that stuff.
If there's any chance he's going to apply for the job, you need to stop talking.
That kind of money, though, it would entice him. you know, because it's not chump change, and and that's what I was kind of expecting to see with a job like this, is somebody that has those skill levels that can, look at a catch basin and look at this and look at that and be able to, do all them things. I was just surprised I wasn't seeing any certifications,
And
Through you, Mayor. So this was this. We stagnated the applications, right? So right now we're going to put it out there, or we have a candidate in mind.
Through the mayor, we're trying to get ahead of all this because we got a lot of work on our plate. So this job won't be posted probably until October or so, because we don't have funding until January 1st.
Okay.
So we're just getting ahead of this. We're trying to do our due diligence. The department heads took a lot of time putting together these job descriptions with our HR team, but we didn't want to wait on this,
right?
And then come to you in September and October and rush it in any capacity. So we wanted to start early.
I think that's very logical, and I absolutely think that Dwight needs a hand. We know that he wears many hats, so we want to try to lessen the burden. He will be training the trainer, and when he does get to that position of director, that's a couple of budgets from now that I see, and we could probably get some training money, hopefully, if it comes, later, possibly. So definitely for this. Thank you.
Phyllis.
I just want to say this is a pretty extensive list of knowledge, skills, and ability, and the certification sometimes has more to do with test taking skills than with ability. And I could tell you stories as a teacher of seeing it. And in the interview process, and we'll be getting references. I have faith that Dwight and whoever else is on the interview committee, but especially Dwight, understands the nitty gritty of this and is going to know right away. You say you have this skill, but you don't. So I'm not really concerned about specific certification at hiring, and if they need it, we can get it. So this is non-union. Is there a working test period or a provisionary period of time?
Probation?
Yeah.
Yeah. What is he? 6 months.
Oh, I have faith that Dwight will put this person through the paces and know in 6 months whether it's a good hire. So, yeah, I just won't get hung up on if they passed a test. Thank you.
Lori.
Question to you or through them. If we do get some candidate or a candidate that does have the quote unquote certifications, is there wiggle room in the budget to try to pay them for that? I know we won't turn them away because they have them, but is that...
No, the certifications...
No.
So just to describe the process, the first thing we do is we put it out there. Mm-hmm. We get a bunch of applicants that apply. We go through the application. It looks like looking at the resume, saying who fits. We bring a certain amount of people in. They get interviewed. And then during the interview, it's basically testing them. And they get scored by... It's usually somebody from HR. It'll be probably Dwight and probably somebody else within that field. And those are the scores. They get their scores. They're put in order. And then a lot of times with something like this, they're going to have a practicum. And then they have to pass the practicum as well. And then the top candidate will get presented to me. If I know the person, the top candidate goes to John. And if John knows him, Don's up. So, we try to keep it very sterile, I guess you can say. But we want to, do well on the tests, come through the process, and then, you make it through. And if somebody needs more training, we provide training.
Okay.
We do.
Thank you.
Okay. All right. Anybody else? Patricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. I have a higher level question. So when you present the council with the job descriptions, are you looking for another set of eyes on them to offer feedback?
We technically speaking, we bring it to you, and we don't even have to. There's nothing in our rules, regulations, anything. We just bring it to you and show you what it is. If there's a change in pay, then we're coming to you and saying, hey, we got a change in pay. These are brand new, and we decided to bring them to you. But these have been vetted. I mean, Dawn's been in this business for a long time, and it goes exactly what I said. You start putting stuff in there that's going to turn away candidates, and if I got 100 candidates, I'd be like, cool, we can put whatever we want in there, but we're not going to. So I don't want to exclude people. I want to be careful how we're doing this. And really, I mean, like I said, you could give us advice and we can say yes, we can say no.
So thank you for that. So that's what I was hoping to offer, just another set of eyes. Certainly I don't work for HR. I don't pretend to work, be part of that world. But I did notice that the word procurement wasn't included in the first sentence of paragraph 2. And I didn't know if the person just doesn't do procurement or that is something that is not needed in the job description.
John?
Yeah, through the mayor. So procurement is handled either in administration or within the finance department. So I don't see that needed for the extensiveness, but also in the personnel rules, this is all illustrative in a lot of ways, like in terms of duties and description of essential duties. Like this is all dependent upon, these may change, right? As we look at what this job becomes and what these duties may need when we incorporate new technology and things like that. I mean, the roles are constantly evolving as well in terms of what the department, all the unfunded mandates that the mayor spoke about earlier. These roles are constantly changing, but I think procurement is more administration and finance.
So I want to thank you for that, and I want to thank everyone for putting the job descriptions together, and quite frankly, allowing me as a counselor to read them and offer feedback. I mean, that's all it is. It's just feedback, just points of consideration.
And one other thing, you'll find this in every one of these, that it somewhere in the wording will be, and all the other duties as required or something like that. I think this performs related duties as assigned. So it's a cover-all. So if procurement comes along, essentially we would train them up, and that would be part of it if it was required. So there's always a catchphrase in every single one of these that we do, because sometimes we get people that say, not my job description. We can say, yes, it is. But we don't use that often. Marianne?
I also noticed it was non-union, which kind of puzzled me, because we do have other departments that the assistants or deputies are in a union for the professionals, I believe.
Doesn't automatically go into a union.
Okay.
The person comes and decides to approach a union, then that's different.
Okay. I'm just kind of like a question for Dwight, I think. Is this everything you're looking for?
Oh, Dwight, come on up. You thought you were going to hide back there.
Not going to let him hide. Obviously, I know a few things on this. So,
from who?
I don't know. Maybe the last.
Good evening. I'm sorry, could you repeat the question again, Mary?
Is it everything you need in a deputy director with you? Is there anything we missed?
Yes, it is. It's basically my job description. So I think it's pretty thorough. And as the mayor said, we do include that clause and other duties that are deemed fit through the Public Works Director. So that'll be here in there as well. And usually you never really have to go that far. And in regard to the non-union, we deal with a lot of budgets. So preferably, it'd be nice to keep that non-union.
Yeah. And I noticed this person's going to be expected to train and to do weekend and snowstorms and
through the mayor, they would cover in my absence, and yes, they would be expected to attend. I would probably say major storms,
tropical storms, blizzards, nor'easters, things like that. 2-inch snowstorm. I don't think I would expect that. It would be something that would be rotational. So if there was a storm, I would have an alternate that we could trade off. So we're not working every storm, it's every other storm, something like that. Also trade off with on-call, as I am available 24/7, 365 for both the town and the Board of Education. We get leak-free sensor calls in the middle of the night, fire alarm calls, burglar alarm calls at schools. So with somebody else in this position, we would be able to trade off, give each other a rest.
That's another question then. Is this person going to be expected to do the schools at the same time?
That is through the mayor, that is part of the job description. Shared services is a very important item, and it does.
Actually, Dwayne, this position is not part of the shared services.
Currently under the agreements that are in here, but we do have language in this.
Do we?
Yeah, we did.
I was going to say the last person was split between both.
That's the building
parking
official.
lot.
That's the building official.
No, the other guy that was
Don, can you answer that one for me?
Through you, Mayor, as Dwight's backup, he would have to take care of the schools in his absence.
Just in his absence. Okay. All right.
And this is a salary position or hourly?
Through the Mayor, it's a salaried position.
Hourly?
Salary.
Salary. Okay. So, and there's no overtime or anything like that, or probably comp time?
Excellent.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Patricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you. As we all know, education and training gives you a body of knowledge, but it also shows those soft skills like perseverance and stick-to-itiveness and grit and all of that good stuff that make people dependable. I'm not seeing even a high school diploma or a GED required for this position. Am I missing that?
Through the Mayor, no, there is no minimum education requirement.
Thank you.
Shouldn't that be in there though?
We can add that. I'd have to look at the public works director's position.
I'd like to make a motion to extend past 10 o'clock till we're done. Or I can't make the motion. Can you make the motion?
Motion to extend curfew beyond 10 until we're finished.
Seconded by Tal. All those in favor? Is that everybody over here too?
Yeah.
All right, unanimous. I saw some hands go very slow. Yeah. Actually, I'd like to add in the high school degree at a minimum there.
So, Mayor, we can add the standard language, high school diploma or GED or any equivalent combination of education and experience.
Okay. Is that okay with the first and the second?
Yes.
Tal, you second, right? You're okay with that? Okay. Anybody else? All those in favor with the changes? Unanimous. Okay. We did both.
No, we got to do the auditor.
Touch on this.
We got to do the auditor. I'll do it.
Auditor, 'cause that was
Did we just close? We just closed it. Hold on a second. Hold on.
we made a motion to change the add the
Did we just took a vote to approve the one, or did we do both?
one. The second one has its own because we were making a change in there.
We're making a change to the
In the job description.
Mayor, there's one motion for the two jobs.
Yeah. So, okay, let's can we pull back the vote?
Excuse me, Dan, I believe someone on the prevailing side, because it would give us the opportunity to talk about the other job description. I believe someone from the prevailing side can ask for reconsideration.
All right, can we do that? Prevailing side, ask for reconsideration? Okay. Phyllis?
I move we reconsider the vote so that we can talk about the second job description.
Seconded by Marianne. All in favor? Okay. Wow. All right, we're going to reconsider unanimously. Sorry about that, guys. It's like all of a sudden we stopped asking questions, and I'm like, all right, let's move on.
No.
All right. Now we're going to ask questions about the other position.
Okay, I just didn't know if we needed to make a motion to actually, or
No,
an amendment.
We opened it back up. So the vote, when we do the final vote, we'll do it with changes.
Okay.
Like we just did them before. That's why I did. So that was my mistake. We didn't.
Thank you.
I don't think I've ever done that one before. But hey, there's many years, another year to go, right? So many years. All right, John, you want to give us an update on this one?
Yep, through the mayor. So our finance officer, Frank Zickus, is retiring on July 3rd. We will miss him. The problem is he did a lot of work. And so I have a new job that takes maybe a half of Frank's job and becomes a full job because Frank was doing two jobs essentially. So this is the person responsible for the workload of the audit, for working with our external auditors, and works hand in hand with the assistant finance officer who is sitting next to Frank Zickus, Bjorn Burke.
Can you just wait so everybody see?
And Bjorn's been with us for about 5 weeks now, and he's a wonderful addition to our team. So this takes a lot of those Frank duties and puts them on paper when it comes to the hundreds of hours of work when Frank is combing through thousands of spreadsheets within the finance department. So happy to answer any technical questions, and I will definitely pass them on to Frank. So.
Mike,
through you, Mayor. Was this the position that when we had that audit that they recommended?
This is all part of
This is all part of that.
Hold on a second.
It would not be boss. No. No, this would just be a staff member within the department.
It's just verifying, making sure that there was no supervision over one of the members of the department.
Oh, okay. Okay. I was just sure that we're fulfilling what they, had required. Yep. But now this wasn't like the other two positions where we deferred it. This wasn't. So this will go out immediately.
Yep. Tomorrow.
For hire.
Tomorrow.
Okay. So, and, well, let's hope we get them in there. Long overdue.
Yep.
Okay. Anybody?
That's it.
No, hold on one second. Yep, we're going to vote again. Hold on one second.
That's why about it. Play the Jeopardy music.
Yeah. Through the mayor, to answer the mayor's question, there's a bachelor's degree requirement, as well as a preferred CPA designation as well. So
perfect. All right. Anybody? Patricia.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does this individual need to know anything about Connecticut municipal finance laws?
Through the mayor, so we outline GASB. We outline all the general accepted auditing standards, which I would say incorporates broad terms on Connecticut financial matters.
Thank you.
And within the description as well.
So that's covered within those board standards.
Yeah, and there's municipal financial analysis, auditing standards, and financial reporting requirements. I would say that all covers.
That covers it.
Yep.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
Just real quick, is this somebody like that, like other towns have these, this position?
Yep.
So this is somebody that we could hopefully steal from another town, and then they can take off running.
We never steal. If they voluntarily leave where they are and come to the
they
town
do to
hall,
us all the time. I'm just saying
that is completely up to them.
So So realistically, they could, with very little training, if they're doing this right now, they could like step in and be an asset to us.
If they voluntarily decide to leave where they are, yes.
There you go. That's a good terminology. Okay, so I was just curious. I've never heard of this, so I was wondering if this was an actual position that other towns are.
Yes,
they have it.
Okay. Tricia.
Again, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayor, and the town administrator for allowing the town council to lend another set of eyes on the job descriptions. I do think it's helpful.
Anybody else? Okay, let's try this again. All in favor of both job descriptions with the changes for the one? Unanimous. All right. Yeah, I'm going to request that we pull number 5. Okay, we got to fix that. So, all set with that? All right, we're going to pull 5. All right, go ahead. Minutes.
The town council waives the reading of the minutes of the regular town council meeting of May 19th, 2026, and moves to approve said minutes.
Who said second? Laura? Oh, one of you two? Lori? Bernie? Yeah. Bernie seconded.
Give it to
All right. Are we pulling anything? Any corrections? Anything like that? No? All right. All those in favor? Unanimous? Go.
Motion to adjourn.
Seconded by Tal. All those in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. All right. Did everybody sign